Now, you are correct me if I'm wrong, 17-year active duty Air Force officer. You graduated from the United States Air Force Academy, obviously distinguished service academy. And you have served literally all over the world for your country. I'm going to start with the obvious question that a lot of people in the veteran community have been asking me as president of Veterans for Responsible Leadership. Why? Let's just start with that big question. Why did you do what you did on July 1st in full uniform?
Well, that's a layered question. It has different components to it. So I'll break it down into the different pieces. Why did I do anything? And then why did I do what I specifically did? I think you're asking multiple questions there. So why did I do something, whatever that thing might be? Is because I saw this administration as a domestic threat to our democratic republic. I thought that threat was very severe, the most severe threat that I've ever perceived in my lifetime, a credible threat that might actually destroy our democratic republic. And just by virtue of day one of what happened with President Trump in the second term in office, observing that behavior quickly made me think I need to define some red lines where I perceive that there's something more that I need to do. And I've talked about this before with others, but that red line for me was a Supreme Court decision for Kilmar Abrego Garcia and that 9-0 decision to facilitate his return, and then the gaslighting experience that we all saw in the Oval Office immediately following that decision, where they suggested that it was impossible for them to follow the clear guidance that was laid out by the Supreme Court. So that red line was, will they blatantly disregard a Supreme Court decision telling them what they are not supposed to do? And that happened. So that red line was what I defined. And then from there, it was just figuring out what to do. And there were many different iterations of what I thought was necessary. The first thing I did failed. And I'm not sure how familiar you are with this, but there was the Hunger for Action protest. And
how long was you on strike there? I'm sorry, it was what, almost 3 weeks?
Yeah, it was 22-day hunger strike. I mean, I did still technically consume certain things. Like I consumed water with electrolytes. I had like a spoonful of sugar included in water to make sure that I didn't have blood sugar issues or chemical imbalances and whatnot. And I also had like a multivitamin drink that was probably like this size. But aside from that, I didn't eat any food for that whole time frame. So I was trying to speak through the power of my actions, the urgency of the situation. But again, like as a lone actor, it's just easy to ignore that kind of activity. And I didn't appreciate that because, I mean, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just making this stuff up as I go. So I learned a lot from that first attempt, and I had to figure out, okay, what did I do that worked or didn't work, or what should I do differently next time if there is a next time? And again, like I talked through a lot of this with others as well. But the biggest takeaway I had from that was America's not ready for this. For whatever reason, I just perceived, and maybe this perception was wrong, but I did not think that Americans were receptive to the thing that it was that I was trying to say needed to happen. So I waited to see if that would change. And I perceived that change with what happened in Minneapolis and what happened with that city taking such a bold stand across the board with so many citizens standing up for their rights and for their neighbors. And that was a moment that was powerfully inspiring to me. And it was also deeply troubling what happened to certain people and the flagrance of it with the murders of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, and then followed up with the baseless vilifications of these individuals as something other than peaceful protesters. So that spoke to me in powerful ways. And there were red lines I didn't know I had that were crossed, multiple different red lines at the same time. I decided, okay, it's time to do something. And that got me back into, okay, what am I going to do? Because I already tried this and that failed. So if I'm going to do this again, what does that look like? And what do I think I can do that might actually achieve the change I think is necessary, understanding that I'm just a lowly major and I'm just one guy. And it's just a question of what's the most that I can possibly do. And do I think that that will have the intended effect? And designing something around that kind of construct and thinking, okay, what will draw the most attention to this in a credible way while not attracting the wrong kind of perceptions. And there were pros and cons with a lot of different ways that I could have done this. And getting to your question about the uniform, this is a complicated answer, and forgive me if it's going to be convoluted, but I view my own actions as an American first that just happens to be an active duty service member. And while this is a nuance that is lost on people and was lost on people, because I've seen a lot of the reactions out there and this understanding of, well, he's doing this in uniform and he's trying to speak for the military. I really wasn't. I'm just trying to speak for myself. And I happen to be a major in the United States Air Force. So that's part of how I define myself. And it was taking ownership of my own identity without trying to co-opt the uniform. But a portion of the activity was to register my dissent as strongly as possible. So essentially, the wear of the uniform was not to co-opt that I am representing the military. It's to invite the consequences, to understand that as a result of this thing that I'm doing, that I know is a violation of the UCMJ and is not acceptable, is not compatible with military service, I'm doing it anyways because I want to make sure it is. Go ahead.